Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, the best damn podcast for the best damn football team. I'm your host, the Football Grump, and with me as always is Mike the Cranky Fan.
Grump, we're having this miserable Giants year, but I just got back from Madison Square Garden where I saw a rare Knicks buzzer-beating three-point shot to win the game. So in this season of awfulness, even though I've won 2 championships this year, I'm still on a pretty good mood right now. We just getting back from the Garden. So how are you doing tonight?
I'm having a rough start to 2022. Our Chicago trip got canceled. That's kind of a bummer. My pizza place burned down the other night.
It burned down.
It burned down, and it was like a big deal. Actually, it was like in the papers and stuff. Like a firefighter got injured. Like the whole building is down. It was on fire literally the whole night. Like when I woke up, it was still on fire.
There's nothing worse than a pizza place closing down, and one burning down is just is catastrophic.
Dude, the best in the area and right in front of my place. I could walk there. So that's gone. So I'm having a rough start. And
thoughts and prayers, Grump. Thoughts and prayers.
And it's all really just encapsulated more. It's just this is residual cooking from 2021. This is the end of the 2021 season. I'm putting the pizzeria. I'm wrapping that into 2021. I'm with the Chicago trip. All that. That's all 2021. So we're on to 2022 in just about a week, man. We should be happy. This is our last preview episode of a game. And then we're going to be on to an onslaught of news. So,
yeah. Just flush this season down the toilet, man, and just let's circle the drain and get away from us.
This season has been that flush that never goes down, and it's just kind of sitting there.
Where do you rank this, Grump, as far as, worst seasons you've had to deal with as a Giant fan? I mean, the combination of, coming off of last year and maybe we're turning the corner until everything possible just going wrong. I mean, where do you rank this?
It's more frustrating than anything. I mean, I because it's so clear that I can't put all the blame on the roster building or the coach or whatever. Like, surely there's improvements to be made all over this team. But, I mean, to not even get a chance to evaluate them and just have it continue to get more and more screwed up. Oh, geez. More and more screwed up throughout the year. It just becomes more frustrating that I have to live through it. Like I gotta do this slow burn of healing throughout this. Things more like the 2017 season was really, really frustrating because we had such high expectations coming out that 2016 season. We were really excited for that, and that was a real dumpster fire.
I mean, once the season was over and lost, I turned off that part of my brain that gets really invested in each game, so I'm not at that every week just kills me more and more. It's just like the thing that's frustrating about it for me is I'm at a real low point in just my optimism going forward. I mean, everything is in such flux right now, and the pieces we think we know are stable for next year aren't exciting me at all right now. So it's almost like we're putting a pause on our excitement and our hopes for this team until either we completely hit rock bottom or completely hit the reset button, and that's what's frustrating for me.
Yeah, see, there's a huge difference between being like, you can be a team with this record but have won 4 in a row because the rookie you can tell that they're growing together or something like that. You know what I mean? You've got 5 or 6 wins and you ended out the year 4 because the rookies started playing well or something like that. And this is totally different. I mean, this is like, we're talking about the pieces we're excited for. I mean, half the pieces aren't really playing right now. Most of them didn't play most of the year. They certainly never played together. So it's just the reason there's nothing to be excited for is because we never really even got to see a lot of it. And that's not to make an excuse. I mean, that's just why I'm not super down on this year. It's not like when I was a kid and they were legitimately trying with Dave Brown and they had these 4-win seasons. That's much more frustrating to me. I mean, that's a team that's trying to win games. This is a team right now that's just trying to get out of this terrible bad luck year and continue to get better. But, I mean, they've got a long way to go.
The question, there are massive, massive question marks on this team going forward. There's nothing you could say. Well, I guess the only thing we can say going forward that we know for a certainty is Well, we have our left tackle, our franchise left tackle. We know we have that. Other than that, everything else on this team, and we're going to talk about some of those pieces today, are, do we know who our quarterback's going to be, beyond next year? Do we know who the coach is going to be? Do we know, what Saquon Barkley, are we going to, sign him after next year? Do we know all these different things? We don't know any of this stuff right now. And it's not like even some of those answers that we know, like, oh, we know that Daniel Jones is going to be back. It doesn't make you the most excited person in the universe. I mean, it's not like we have, Lamar Jackson or something. Like, okay, we have him locked up, and I'm excited for the future. It's still Daniel Jones. So it's just really right now, we're just stuck in that wait and see mode, and that's what's frustrating me beyond no end. Well, and it's not going to be solved on Monday morning or on draft day or on opening day next year. It's going to take a while for this to get sorted out.
The one thing that we mainly don't know right now is coaching. We may not know certain things about certain players, but they're hurt, whatever. I mean, we legitimately don't know if our head coach is going to be back. We don't know who our offensive coordinator is next year. And now we're at this point now where we have to face the realistic chance that Patrick Graham is going to entertain several head coaching chances. He was asked about these questions today, Thursday. If he would entertain them, and he gave a very professional answer of, right now he's focused on Washington and what he's building here and, whatever. He gave like a non-answer, but he's going to entertain those. And it already took kind of, we expect, just a Brinks truck of money to keep him to cancel some interviews last year and all that stuff. But
well, let's start with this, Grump. Do you think his stock since last year has gone up around the league?
Yeah, I think so. And the reason why is not necessarily because the defense is better, is that so much that it's consistent now. I mean, now you have 2 years of Patrick Graham stuff to show that not only has he gotten good product, but he's gotten good product despite, lack of pass rush, despite injuries, despite a second corner, and showing up in big games against big quarterbacks like Tom Brady.
And just seeing the improvement, like, the defense was a little sketchy the first few games this year, and it's definitely improved. I mean,
right, but I mean, they were also hurt a little bit. I mean, he doesn't need to show improvement so much as he just needs to show that it's consistent. It wasn't a
how do you handle adversity? I think that's something you can kind of show, and he showed that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we didn't have a decent to very good defense, this team could be one of the worst teams you've ever seen in history. The last 9 weeks.
I mean, I guess, but I mean, if we didn't have a decent to good defense, then we wouldn't have been spending so much money on defensive pieces. I mean, that money has to go somewhere, and it's probably going to the offense at that point.
Right, but you know what I mean, though. It's just like as bad as these last month has been of games, these scores could have been even more disgustingly bad.
Oh, yeah.
If the defense wasn't, playing as well as it has been. It's not going to get any credit for it. It's just going to be lumped in with disaster season, incompetence, blah, blah, blah. But they have shown considerable improvement from the early part of this year to now with less talent than they had in the beginning of the season.
So how do we handle Patrick Graham potentially hitting the open market? Do you just let it happen?
Well, I mean, you do all you can to, try to give another. If you believe in the guy and you want him to stay, you offer as much as you can. I mean, much as you can. I guess you have to offer that money before he lets himself available, because once you start getting the head coaching money, you're never going to compete with the coordinator money. I had a thought. If ownership loves Joe Judge so much, and whether it was the last 3 weeks or this year in whole or whatever, they're not completely sold on him as a coach, but they love his organizational skills. They love his culture building, blah, blah, blah. Any chance they kind of kick him upstairs? Not necessarily maybe general manager or not, but some level like president of football operations, and then elevate Patrick Graham to head coach? I mean, if he's going to go, to probably a head coaching job somewhere else and they like him, maybe then they kill a couple birds with one stone. And also, how would this fan base react to that?
I just don't think that's real life. I don't think he wants that. I don't think that's...
He beating who?
Joe Judge. I don't think he wants any part of that. Right now, I mean, he's this is his first job as a head coach. You know, he comes into a situation where you got a general manager that you know is basically on his way out, retiring, and retiring mostly, I would say, in disgrace. You've got now reports of owners being very, very meddlesome. Allegedly, he didn't really get a fair shot to assemble the staff as he saw fit. I don't think he's going to give up his shot at being a head coach because of this 2-year stint here.
Well, what if it's not his? What if it's not his choice? What if it's something where
they can't make him?
What if ownership says, you know, we like you, we want you to be, we want to reassign you within the organization?
I mean, he can just say no, thank you.
Then he could be fired. I mean,
fine. I'm sure he would.
Do you think he'd rather be? You think he'd rather be fired than take a job upstairs? If
he's
given...
a young guy. He's a young guy, and I think that he would not appreciate doing it. I don't think he wants that job. I don't think that's what he wants. I think he wants to be on the field teaching. I understand why we're saying this, and his on the field head coaching stuff hasn't been that great, and we really do like Patrick Graham. We don't really even know if taking Patrick Graham away from the defense is even a good idea. I understand that he's going to be, you know, seeking out head coaching opportunities, but we don't know how he's going to be as a head coach. We hardly even know what he's going to be as a defensive coordinator. It's only been like 2 years.
Well, he's also been with Miami too.
Yeah.
We know he is the defensive coordinator. I mean, he has more of a track record than just being here.
It's not a very long one, is it?
Yeah.
How long was he in Miami as a defensive coordinator? I don't think
2 years. Was it 2 years?
I mean, maybe, but I mean,
the point is, if they think enough of Patrick Graham and they think enough of Joe Judge, the person, but not necessarily Joe Judge, the coach, that could be one possible solution to all of this. But you're right. It takes two to tango. And if Joe Judge is like, I'm a head coach, he might find himself out the door. I mean, my philosophy has always been, I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but you fire till you get it right. I don't believe that just, if every 2 years having to find a new coach, that's a cycle you don't want to be in, but it's not necessarily the worst option. The worst option is keeping a guy that you don't like or is not good longer than he should be, causing more and more damage to your organization. So if they think after 2 years, they shouldn't just keep him just because, well, we don't want to go through this again. It's you keep doing this until you get it right. And that's their decision they have to make. If they're buying into the culture talk and the organizational and how he hired Patrick Graham and the locker room is still with him 100% and all that, and they think that's bigger factors than what we're seeing on the field, whether it's his fault or not, then he'll stay. If they think that, that isn't as important as, wins and losses, his fault, not necessarily, they'll move on.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly unorthodox, so it's not like there's much precedent for it. So it's hard for me to imagine. So I mean, we're looking now at a situation where we've got no offensive coordinator right now. We may not have a defensive coordinator. We may not even have a head coach, which of course eliminates most of that stuff anyway. Though I think a new head coach coming in might consider Patrick Graham staying as defensive coordinator at least. But so Patrick Graham, where he might go, where we think there's going to be some vacancies as head coach. Raiders already have one. Jacksonville already has one. We suspect Chicago. And we suspect Denver, and there's been some rumblings in Minnesota as well. So those are going to be the open coaching, and I guess of course the Giants.
But who's Jacksonville's coach?
They don't have one. Urban Meyer was already fired.
No, I thought you said. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you said they have a coach. I didn't understand.
No, yeah, the Jacksonville and Vegas are already vacant. Those vacancies are already open.
Gotcha.
Chicago, Denver, and Minnesota are likelies. But what that means for the Giants, I guess, not necessarily so much that Patrick Graham is leaving, is that those coaching trees now shake free. The Raiders have guys there like Gus Bradley at defensive coordinator. Rod Marinelli's been a very good defensive line coach. Honestly, has done good things with Dallas's defense with shit talent over the years that he was there. Broncos have Pat Shurmur. I can't imagine he'd ever come back here in any role, right? Mike Munchak is their offensive line coach. That's something to consider.
With all of these openings, it's more competition if we decide we were going to launch Joe Judge These are other jobs that are competition for people we may be interested in as well.
It's true. I'm personally kind of interested in Darrell Bevell in Jacksonville as an offensive coordinator. I know that he's not very exciting, but I mean, I don't really know what names are out there, and I don't know that you necessarily swing for the fences with Joe Judge so much as you get a good, decent offensive coordinator who's had good years with Russell Wilson in Seattle. Something steady, something productive.
I don't think you do it with the intention of trying to lure Russell Wilson. Let's make that
No.
clear.
That's
right.
not what I'm trying to say. But I think bringing him in brings a steadiness to the offense, a professionalism, a provenness, and then he probably goes and takes some head coaching job somewhere else. Then you can start thinking about, if you've had success, getting the hot shot young offensive mind or whatever you want. But I don't think you need to shoot for the fences with something like that right off the bat.
Joe Brady's out there too.
Joe Brady would definitely get a call from me, at least just to see what happened in Carolina. I would be interested. The difference between what happened at LSU and Carolina.
It'd be an interesting little trolling move too, since there seems to be this little thing going between us and Carolina too.
Yeah, that is kind of funny. I guess we should talk about Jim Harbaugh. It's been rumored now that he has interest in joining the NFL again. The quote from somebody close to the situation was, "I think it's real." Me personally, I think that he just wants more money now that he had a very good season in Michigan and beat Ohio State on top of it. That's what it sounds like to me, and that this is if you want to keep me, give me more money kind of thing. But let's just say that the possibility is open for Jim Harbaugh to be entertained as a head coaching candidate for the New York Giants. How would you feel?
Well, first thing, his contract runs through 2025, was just extended. I'm looking to see who his agent is, because if it's who I think it is, I can guarantee you who is his agent.
Well, I mean, I'll just say this. I am 99% sure that he is just looking for more money, and it has nothing to do with interest. I mean, of course he's interested in the NFL, but I don't think there's any opportunity in the NFL that's going to give him what he gets at Michigan.
I feel like Harbaugh, to me, it's the thought of Jim Harbaugh is more exciting than Jim Harbaugh, the coach. I mean, yes, he went to a Super Bowl with San Francisco. Yes, he went to the college football playoff with Michigan. Yes, he went to a Rose Bowl with Stanford. But there's been a price to pay also. I mean, he's also a guy that got himself fired from San Francisco when they were still pretty good. I mean, he has a limited shelf life of how long he kind of keeps his welcome before people just don't want to be working with him anymore. I mean, he's been at Michigan now for, I think, 7-8 years, which I'm quite frankly pretty shocked he's still there. I mean, he's a Michigan guy. I guess that helps the situation. But remember, it wasn't like everybody knew he was getting fired after that last game in San Francisco. And I would think the press statement, I think he was still on the field doing handshakes at the end, that he was gone. Mm-hmm. So, I know successful coaches can be a pain in the ass, but I don't know. He's definitely somebody that changes the narrative for this team. I think, all the talk of, this team is a complete mess, and Joe Judge and press conferences and golf clubs and all that other stuff, it immediately ends the second they hire him. It becomes a kind of a rah-rah story, but I don't know. I'm lukewarm on it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would be excited because it's an exciting name. It's hard not to be. There's success there. I was I was a big fan of those early Niners teams that he was with Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator. I really liked what they were doing, how they were able to maximize the talent that they had, and be a very, very early force in his coaching tenure.
Hey, he took a quarterback who can't even be a backup quarterback to the Super Bowl. That's got to tell you something, right? Sorry for the political commentary, but
no, it's not. I mean, the fact for me, I'm going to keep this as non-political, but as far as Colin Kaepernick, the player, goes, and you and I talked about this when he was the hottest name, and I did not love him. I felt that he tried to run a lot more than he tried to throw, and I could sense that sophomore slump. That was the second year that he slumped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could sense it coming. So I wasn't like super in love with that to begin with. But he did manage to make him into a near Super Bowl winner. And if they did win that Super Bowl, probably looking at Super Bowl MVP Colin Kaepernick, right?
Well, oh yeah. Well, let's look at it a different way. If you're Jim Harbaugh and you're serious about wanting to get back into the NFL, what makes you intrigued by the Giants more than some of the other jobs you had mentioned?
Well, literally nothing. Let's say that right there. I mean, it's not even start at the very beginning. Has nothing to do with the situation the Giants are in. Just look at the front office. I mean, does that look like something that Jim Harbaugh is going to be able to work with? Now the things that we've heard about, certain senior members that are also family members and what level of access they have, what control they have, that doesn't sound like anything. It's kind of a miracle that Joe Judge puts up with it.
And that sounds like, and that I think alone is just enough for him to say no, because he's going to want.
I mean, I don't even think he takes the interview.
He's absolutely going to want total control. So he's going to want to be, coach / GM / VP of football operations. He's going to run everything. I mean, he's been doing it for the last 7 years at Michigan. He's going to want to do things his way. And you're right. And a Chris Mara's in there who's giving his occasional, here's what I think, and he tells him, hey, thanks, but shut the fuck up. Yeah. That's not going to go over well. And we've already seen that he burns bridges with owners. So I think he would probably, and also just again, coaches generally don't want to come in and to completely start over, and that's almost what they're doing here. I mean, he has to make anybody who comes in has got to make a decision about the quarterbacks. Has to make a decision about a whole bunch of things on this team. And I don't know if he wants to necessarily start at the very bottom like that. You get the sense he's kind of like a Phil Jackson in basketball. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go, I have Shaq and Kobe over here. That sounds good. Michael Jordan, that sounds good here.
I don't think so. I don't think that for him. I think that I think he's comfortable in Michigan to begin with. I think they're happy. I don't think
he's leaving. I don't think he's leaving either.
I just no. I don't see that for him as seeing an all-star situation, coaching for a little bit and then moving on or whatever. I don't see that for him. I think. No,
I mean, if he's gonna make the jump, it's like I need to have the pieces in place. I don't want.
In that sense.
Yeah.
You mean like Urban Meyer?
Yeah, like Urban Meyer started from scratch with Jacksonville. I mean, he had a quarterback that was he was getting the number 1 overall pick. He was going to get a franchise quarterback, but everything else had to basically be rebuilt from scratch. I don't get that sense from Harbaugh. I think from Harbaugh is going to be like a Phil Jackson, like, oh, let me check my options out. I'm going to pick the one that has the best chance to succeed as fast as possible.
Yeah, as fast as possible, yes. But I think in the NFL, that's what that is. I think Jacksonville is that, where you have guys with you have a low cap number, you have the first overall pick, you've got Trevor Lawrence coming out in the draft. I mean, that to me, Urban Meyer was set up for, they're not going to be great year 1, but they could be serious contenders by year 2 already. I mean, who the hell knows? It's not like the AFC South is got some major juggernauts over there. So, I mean, it's totally feasible that team could be rebuilt in like 2 years into a fringe playoff contender. In the NFL, there aren't a whole lot of teams that are, have head coaching vacancies that are like, if only Aaron Rodgers didn't get hurt. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't really happen all that often. I think your fastest shot are the teams that aren't halfway in quarterback hell. The ones that have just we've dumped everything. We've got a clean slate. Have at it. You know what I mean? I think that's the fastest way.
Right.
But it doesn't matter because I don't think Harbaugh's going to be there. If for whatever reason he's hired as head coach, I would be pretty happy with that. I guess I would be okay with it. I just don't. I think there's a 0 shot that it's happening.
I'd be happier than Joe Judge. Yeah. And again, I'm not on the complete 100% fire the guy. He's completely useless. I think it's still a need more information for me.
Yeah, that was the worst thing I could have wanted.
Right, it's not trending to be like this guy's a great coach, but it's also I still need to see some of the decisions I think he makes is based upon the availability of the roster he has now. I want to see if those same decisions and those same patterns of conservatism is he going to be that way with a full complement, like, with his quarterback, with his healthy offensive line, with all of his weapons? Is he still going to be that way or not? Is the clock management question still going to be there when he's maybe not trying to escape a game as opposed to all out trying to win it with all his guns? So that, in that sense, I'm still like, you want to bring him back, fine. I'm not totally against it.
Yeah, I think it would be you'd be well within your rights, and no one would think you're crazy for firing him as an owner. After the 2 years that he's had, but also, just me. I look at the tenure he's had here, and I think to myself, like, if I fired him, what are the chances that he gets hired as a head coach somewhere else in the near future and does really, really well? Like, did I get the sense at the end of his time here that I am pretty sure that he is not going to be a good head coach in the NFL? Like, I don't get that sense because I didn't really get the sample size. You know what I mean? Like, I just it's as you said, it's incomplete. There's no way to really judge who he is as a head coach.
Well, the one thing we do know is he did not kick his coverage. He didn't overachieve based on what he has. Like, to be like, God damn that guy, no quarterback and all this stuff, and this team is still winning. Like, wow, we didn't get that. So, but we also didn't get this team rolled over and died. I mean, it feels like they did, but it just wasn't we didn't have like the to use his terms, like the golf club mentality of this team, where I still didn't get the sense they were just going through the motions right anymore.
Yeah, Kenny Galladay's still lining up there and playing, every week. We're not seeing these veterans not play.
We're not seeing them like take their uniforms off and throw them into the crowd and wave to the crowd at the end of it, in the middle of a game. So I guess that's an accomplishment.
Did you see that Antonio Brown released the pictures of his text messages with the coach before the game, showing that he knew his ankle was hurt?
Did you also see the report that he told some OnlyFans chick to watch what I do tomorrow during the game?
I saw that, but just in general, that I love that this poor massage therapist is just trying to do his job, and now Antonio Brown took a picture of him and now posted that picture on the internet as proof, and he's just trying to do his friggin' job.
It really sucks, because a guy like that, you probably just want to wipe your hands clean and say
exactly. I'm just doing my job. He comes in, he's a client, whatever. I'm
talking about Antonio Brown with the Bucks. Oh. This guy is such a headache, but their chances of winning the Super Bowl have decreased that he's not on the team anymore. Yeah, combined with their other injuries, in the receivers and everything. But
also, if they do win the Super Bowl, then we forget about this, and that story is remembered only as the screen grab of him jumping around in the end zone,
waving. Yeah.
That's all it gets remembered as, in context.
Exactly.
As far as this game here, we already know that Mike Glennon is on IR with a wrist injury. Jake Fromm is starting. Ellerson Smith, rookie, had started the year on IR, I think, right? And just started getting some reps in there, was increasing his playing time, starting to do a couple of things. He's going on IR, missing the last game of the season with a neck injury. That's kind of a bummer. I was enjoying watching him see the little things he's putting together. I'm not trying to overhype him or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a tough break. So, getting back to the quarterback for a second. So now we're back to Jake Fromm, and it's funny, a lot different perception from the fan base and everybody the second time around. The first time, St. Frommy the first comes around 3 weeks ago, and people think we have a new Joe Montana. Now people are just like, well, do we just run the Wildcat every play? I mean, realistically, what are you doing? You're giving the guy a chance to put more tape out there so he can get another job somewhere else, right? I mean, that's best case scenario. I mean, I don't see there's any plan for him in the role with this team next year, right? I mean, even if they decide to go with 3 quarterbacks next year, he proved he's not NFL ready or NFL quality.
I mean, if he has a place on this team next year, it's competing with Brian Lewerke. So, I mean, I don't know if that counts as a place on this team, but
well, I mean, you do need guys to do reps in practice. You can't have your quarterbacks throwing
Right.
100 times 3 days a week. You need somebody to actually throw the ball to get reps in. So, but
I
that
feel
role is
nothing
not
about.
it's not predicated on this. That's, believe me, that's issue number 96 on the Giants' needs worrying going into the offseason too.
Well, we can talk about this. It looks like Kadarius Toney is not going to play in this game either. He's now got a shoulder injury and did not practice again.
Tough year for my man Kadarius. You name it, it happened to him this year. But one thing I will kind of, again, this is not, Gator Cranky Fan, making excuses for the guy, but I don't think it's fair to label him a bust.
No, come on.
There are people who think he's a bust and think it was a typical Gettleman bad draft pick and a bust. Remember, you don't draft for this year. You draft for the future, now and the future. So if this year was a complete wash due to every issue under the sun with him, he's not a bust. He'll be back next year, and you hope he's healthy and can contribute. Because when he was healthy, he contributed.
Oh, we saw what he can do when he is on the field.
I mean, he was, as exciting almost as Beckham was with the ball in his hands. The moves he can make, the joystick ability of his, the fact he has no cartilage in his knees, how he can make these cuts and things. He just has to stay healthy. And some of this stuff just seemed kind of random. I mean, if anybody was going to have COVID, of course he was going to have it. You name it. So you just hope next year he just stays healthy. He just has a clean off season, and away we go. But he's not a bust yet. Stop with the bust talk.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who calls a player in their first year a bust isn't actually calling them a bust. They're trying to call their shot. They're trying to say this guy's going to be a bust. And nobody busts after 1 year. No one.
Or they're trying to validate their opinion on draft night. We should not have drafted this guy. I mean, a lot of people, and it goes even back to like someone like Gettleman. It's like a lot of people, I would be willing to bet. Well, maybe we'll throw a poll out there even. If you're anti-Gettleman, did you want him hired in the first place? Yes or no? And I guarantee you most of the people who said no had a negative opinion all the way and just never on board with him, period.
Probably.
Yeah.
Whatever. It is what it is. Kadarius Toney is a guy who's going to battle through injuries from, in this league. That's what it's going to be. Some years are going to be more injuries than others. And that's how a lot of wide receivers are in this league. That's how Sterling Shepard was. That's how kind of Odell Beckham was. He had his share of injuries over the course of his career. The guys now, the wide receivers we make in this generation, I mean, they often miss 1 or 2 games due to some kind of soft tissue thing or something. It's just part of it. I think some years you're going to get Kadarius Toney playing 15 games. You're probably not going to get a 17-game season out of him, but you'll probably get some 15, 16, 14 games, and then occasionally you're going to get like a 10 games or less from him. It's just he's one of those guys. But at the upshot is when he is on the field, he's much more rare.
He's different. From what you saw from him this year, now you've seen him in college more than probably most Giant fans have because you follow Florida along with me. For what you saw on the field when he was healthy, what did you think overall of him? Did he exceed your expectations? Were you disappointed? Did you like the way he was utilized by the coaching staff? What were your overall thoughts of him?
Well, I certainly didn't like the way he was utilized by the coaching staff. I think try and stop using him like a gadget. I mean, they didn't start off making him a gadget player. They tried to run him through like the regular offense, I guess, but that regular offense was so horrendous that it still was not really utilizing him correctly. And then once the season started to get out of hand and we could see that when the ball was in his hands, he did some magical stuff. They completely overdid it. Every play he was on the field was like either he was completely ignored or he was the highlight of the play, like
right
from game to game.
And goofy scenarios too.
Goofy scenarios where he's throwing the ball, running jet sweeps where it's very obvious, screen passes that are kind of obvious, and I wasn't impressed with the way he was deployed. That's not his fault. I was impressed with his ability. I mean, you see guys like him at the college level and you think, wow, that's amazing. But you have to remember at the college level that like 9 guys on the defense aren't going to be playing in the NFL. One
Oh.
of those guys in the NFL is going to be a starter. The other one is going to be a rotational guy for 2 to 3 years. So
Right.
when I saw him just tear through NFL defenders, starters, just rip through defenses, that's where I was encouraged. I saw that it translates to the NFL, and I already know he's got the hands. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about that. I was impressed with that. I could see it holds up at that level. I'm good with him. Ability-wise, I'm good with him.
Me too. Me too. I think you get a coordinator come in here, redesign this offense based on the strengths of what he has, and I think you'll see him. You know, you'll see a spotlight shined on him. I think going forward, where he's put into the best positions to succeed.
Yeah, and I think it's also going to help him having a whole offseason, a real offense, and Daniel Jones. You know, Chris Myrick was waived, now part of the Bengals practice squad. Fun fact, Chris Myrick was his touchdown against the Eagles was 4 touchdowns ago for the Giants. Think about that, because the Giants have not won a game since Chris Myrick scored a touchdown. So he goes down. Is that Ring of Honor worthy? Should we put him up there next to Jesse Armstead and?
You know something, the way they let people in there now, and they're so desperate for positive news with this team, it wouldn't shock me if one
Chris Myrick bobblehead day.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, I mean, it's just one less tight end that this team has. I mean, at least he earned some playing time. That's something for a room that's going to be pretty empty next year. We expect Kyle Rudolph and Evan Ingram to be gone. So, I mean, it is somewhat newsworthy, even if that's kind of a laugh. What do you think about...
Do we know for sure Evan Ingram's gone next year?
No. Well, he's not currently signed through next year.
Oh, okay, then he's gone. Forget it.
Yeah.
I was thinking there was one more year left on his deal. Never mind. He's gone.
What do you think about the rumor but report from Boomer Esiason that Washington is announcing February 2nd that they will be the Washington Admirals? But how do you feel about playing the Admirals twice a year?
I still hate him. You can call him whatever you want to call him. I'm still going to hate that team. That's for sure. I know how badly you want to make Charlotte the rivalry over Washington, but
no, over Dallas.
Over Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. I can get into that again. Whatever. I mean, I think these teams that have renamed themselves, like, you know, the Indians turning into the Guardians, I don't think there's been one out there that's been like, oh, that's a cooler name. You know, the Sonics going to the Thunder in basketball, that's lame. I personally, I would have kept it the Washington football team. I think that's cool. I mean, I love how soccer teams have very basic names like New York City Football Club, Manchester United. I mean, why do you have to have a nickname? I just think it makes you unique and stand out. So I would have stayed with Washington football team.
I agree that I think it makes you unique and stand out, and I think it has this level of like, and it goes well with Washington's colors and just the, you know, their legacy. I mean, it's one of the oldest teams in the NFL, so it's got this very collegiate, very old school, very simple, crisp, easy. My only thing is, it would be kind of fake at that point because it's part of that persona of being this very simple, old school, old timey, but it's actually not. It's a 2020 nickname that was made because as a reversal to a politically incorrect or, you know, whatever public backlash kind of situation. So it would be kind of phony at that point. So I agree. I agree with your perception of all that stuff. I think that stuff is pretty cool, and it does make them stand out. I think it's really cool. I like the helmets with just the numbers. I think is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Admirals is kind of lame. I don't know. I don't have any suggestions for anything cool. It's just lame.
Admirals is, I don't know. It's just whatever. I really, honestly, it's like whatever.
Well, I mean, this whole game is like whatever. Are you looking for anything out of this game?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing our friends at the tailgate. That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to go to the Candlewick Diner after for post game. That'll be fun. I think we said we're going to walk around the stadium quite a bit and check out things during the game. That could be fun.
Yeah, we're gonna be at the game for reasons really not related to football. I mean, just to hang out.
We have the tickets.
We have that, but also, I mean, without going to any games last year, we knew it was going to be like this too. I think we even predicted, like, even if the season's terrible, it's going to be so nice just to see all these people and meet them and talk to them, and it's been that, actually.
Hey, this has been actually a very, rewarding year for going to games. I mean, we got to hang out with, the crew from Talking Giants, Justin and Bobby. We've hung out with them a few times, and the irreplaceable Snacks, who's always
we met with Sal a couple times too.
Yeah, I mean, we got to make a bunch of new friends, and now we have, hopefully for years to come, we have a tailgating buddies and people to get hyped with before a game. That's a new element we haven't had for Giant football, for me and you at least.
Well, that and a reason to be hyped.
And a reason to be hyped, yeah. I mean, if Snacks doesn't get you hyped before a game, I mean,
true.
There's really, I don't know if you have a pulse anymore. So, but for the game itself, nothing other than I hate Washington. I just would like to beat them. That's it. That's the only reason why I'm rooting for my laundry to beat their laundry. And honestly, we are so far down the road right now of irrelevance for, even who's playing. I guess the most important thing for me is, one, nobody gets a serious injury that knocks them out through, OTAs, through training camp, and God forbid even beginning of next year. Just get
basically what we saw with Shepard and Parrott.
Exactly. We don't want anything like that. That's the most important thing, because I mean, this really feels. This is worse than the last preseason game, because the last preseason game, it's like, all right, well, next week starts the season, and away we go. This is, well, whatever, dude. I mean,
technically speaking, next week starts the season, and away we go. I mean, we are pretty sure we've got to get a new GM. At the very least, a new GM and a new offensive coordinator.
This is a very sad thing that we always kind of too often have this discussion for, but do you want to lose to help the draft pick? Does this game fall into that?
Look. We already discussed, punting versus tanking. I don't think you need to game plan to lose this game. But what I'm actually looking at for this game versus last game, we already discussed that we're looking for individual growth. Things like Andrew Thomas taking care of Robert Quinn against the Bears. That was what I wanted to see last week. Excellent performance from him. Things like that, like Xavier McKinney breaking on a ball in that game.
Is that the highlight of the season, Grump? Is that validating that Andrew Thomas is our left tackle of the future?
It should be. I mean, that sounds like a joke, because it kind of is, but that's no small thing to be sure of.
For something where the biggest need by far on this roster is offensive line, we know the anchor of that offensive line is here and is going to be here for a very long time.
Yeah. But one thing I do want to look at for this game in particular, as opposed to last game, don't go out there and try and what it felt like last game was they were going to go out there and try and have two scripted drives to throw the ball a whole bunch and try and score points, and then just try and run out the game and see if they could win that way. I don't want you to try and win that way. Just go with it knowing that Jake Fromm is your quarterback, and game plan to have an offensive game plan to just do a thing. Just run the ball. You're not going to get a whole lot of Jake Fromm. I don't want you to go out there and game plan to be like, well, if we can get him, off to a rhythm in the beginning. Jake Fromm is not going to throw the ball. He's not part of your offense. You're not trying to look at anything from Jake Fromm. So setting themselves up for embarrassment, where you're going to get a sack fumble on the first play and put your defense in a situation where you can't evaluate them either. Just go out there and get your offense to run 30 running plays off of one formation and 10 pass plays, and pass the ball no more than 12 times in this game, and make those pass plays count. Don't make them stupid screenplays to mitigate your third down. Just time your third down, time your throws to be where they can be effective and utilize
Make
Jake Fromm.
make each play try to be successful. Don't worry about, well, does this give us the best chance to win, or the best chance for a mismatch. Give each play a chance to succeed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Make it as very simple as that. You almost have to game plan a game like this. Remember that game in I think it was in Buffalo, that New England Buffalo game where the 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Just
It's
like
like think of Jake Fromm right now as a 40-mile-an-hour wind in your face.
Yeah, he's the
handicap. And you can't throw in either situation. So how do you game plan around that? And we saw what New England did in that game.
You've got Devontae Booker and you've got Saquon Barkley back there. Those guys should be your offense. And that doesn't mean that Kenny Golladay has to run off the field. He should be on the field just about every play anyway. He can block. I mean, and then that way you can run your pass plays off of it. This substitution of whole offensive in between plays that we've done all year with Jason Garrett and without Jason Garrett.
Look, in this league,
that's not helping anything.
In this league, you don't win by tricking guys.
Yes, and that's the other thing.
All that shit is, all you're doing is you're trying to, if you think you're going to win by confusing and tricking the opposition every single down by doing things like mass substitutions and all that, it's not going to work. You have to beat them, physically beat them. And so enough of that nonsense. Just line up and play.
Yeah, and
especially with a third string quarterback and a busted up line and all the other things going on.
And I'm glad to see that the trick plays have been gone. And I know Wildcat to me does not count as a trick play, especially with the quarterback situation.
It may be the best situation to do is do some Wildcat.
Yeah. Do you want to do a score prediction?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, me either. Do you want to do a win-loss prediction?
We're going to lose.
You need to do pen and pencil?
I will put this in magic marker. We will lose.
Same.
Yeah. I don't. This team, I'm going to give this team a little bit of credit for actually trying the last couple of weeks. They have not mailed it in. As the scores might indicate you think they did. They haven't. They've just been playing to the ability level that's on the field right now, unfortunately, at key positions. And it is what it is. And right now we have it all boils down to one thing. Jake Fromm is our quarterback. Yeah. Tough to overcome that. One thing I want to throw at you really quick, Grump, but this little kind of anomaly that could potentially happen Sunday night. Did you see that if Jacksonville wins, that if in that case Vegas and the Chargers, if they tie, they're in the playoffs?
Who is Jacksonville?
No, if Jacksonville wins on Sunday and they beat whoever they're,
and LH tie.
If they tie, they get in. So theoretically,
who's they? Who gets in?
Both teams in that game Sunday night. So if they tied each other, they both get in. Setting up a theoretical where they can both literally kneel every play to get to the tie, and they're both in the playoffs anyway.
Well, what time is that game?
That's the Sunday night game.
Oh, and Jacksonville's earlier, so they would know that Jacksonville won?
Right.
I can't imagine that happening.
That's what I said. I had a pretty long argument with somebody who's kind of convinced that that's what would happen. They're like, why would they risk it? And I'm like, why would you trust the other team not to, on the last play of the game, run a play and and you're out? I mean, I just thought it's a really quirky thing. And also, what kind of a firestorm would the league have if they actually did that, where each play they literally kneeled every play? And it's not the same as just
that would be, I have to say, that would be probably my favorite Sunday night football thing. Because just imagining Chris
that's what the argument I was having with. He was like, that'd be the greatest thing ever. I'm like,
well, I mean, I would just love it because it would be like such a shot to I hate, we already discussed this, but the Monday night game, the Sunday night game, and how it's for the bigger audience and it's got to be larger than life, and it's frustrating because it actually interrupts the game. I mean, they pull away from coverage of the actual game to give you dumb, stupid things, and they're talking over the game to tell you dumb, stupid things. So I would love it just for that, because I can't stand that format, even though I understand it. I get why they do it, and the money is important, and I appreciate the money that it brings in, but I think it would be great to get a bunch of, casual housewives that walk into the room like, what's going on? Just causing absolute chaos. It would be hilarious. But it would never happen. It would not happen.
It would never happen because just the pure simple thing is I don't trust that other team. And even if we had
especially if they're in the same division.
Right. Even if you had a verbal handshake, like, listen, we're not going to do this. We're just going to, right? These coaches all hate each other. They all, these teams hate each other. How would you like to, and maybe you don't want to face this team down the road. Maybe you don't want, there's a matchup problem you have with Vegas and you don't want to face them in the playoffs. I can't see it possibly happening. I think both teams
literally never happen.
Right. Now you might see very vanilla play, like they're just kind of,
They're not going to play for a tie. That's not going to happen. It's
right,
not
because if
they
lose, they're out.
Yeah,
don't forget
they're not going to be vanilla anything in that game.
Right.
So,
agreed.
All right, guys, we will see you we may see you even Monday morning. We don't know what's going to happen immediately following the game Sunday. So there might be. I'm being serious. I mean, we may have news that people are fired right away. It's. These stories, they leak, Mm-hmm. So we'll see you for sure very early
soon
next week. Either Monday morning, Monday afternoon, for maybe even an emergency one that comes Monday afternoon. I don't know.
Well, first of all, we'll see you guys. What's
Sunday.
The parking lot? Where are we at?
It's L16.
L16. First of all, we'll see you guys early Sunday morning in L16 with all your favorite podcast hosts for one last time. And then we may record Sunday night. You never know.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
But no matter when we record, you will always find these episodes on YouTube where you can see them, but you can also just listen to them on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, and I already said iTunes.
Say it again.
Did I say Spotify? I don't know.
Spotify, YouTube, on YouTube and Spotify and iTunes and iTunes, and Spotify
iTunes?
and YouTube.
It's on iTunes as well.
Yeah.
And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at @football_grump and him at the Cranky Fan and the show at Just Giants Pod. We will see you Sunday. Go Giants.
Go Giants.